Sounds of Health will be live again at Hamden Fest on Saturday, June 14th at Hamden Town Center Park in Hamden, Connecticut. This will be the 20th annual Business and Community Expo with an artisan craft and civic fair, Friends of the Hamden Library book sale, Hamden Fest Half Marathon and 5K Road Fest, live music and entertainment, including us at Sounds of Health, and also a kids zone, sports zone, and food trucks. Please join us there, Saturday, June 14th. Thank you for listening to Sounds of Health. To help promote our podcast, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, where you can find us by searching for Sounds of Health, and also on YouTube, where you can find us by searching Sounds of Health Podcast. We appreciate your support. All right, how we doing?
I'm ready.
You ready to go? All right, Kelley, you good?
I'm good.
Okay, great. And we're not live streaming or anything, right? Okay, so we're just recording. All right.
Can we, if we stumble or anything, can you edit it out, like that kind of stuff?
Yeah. I think, and it's good for people to see, how it works. So, but yes, we do have the ability to edit things out if you need to.
I have no problem embarrassing myself.
You and me both. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Sounds of Health. Every week, we discover inspiring stories, meet incredible people, and share valuable resources to help you boost your physical, emotional, and financial well-being. And this week is no different. We have an amazing guest. I'm your host, Dave MacNiven, and I am so thrilled to welcome our guest today, Kelley McShane. Kelley is a business leader, an amateur athlete, and the Chief Executive Officer of Granny Squibb's Organic Iced Tea. She's also a former ice hockey player, and she now pursues open water and distance swimming, aiming at setting a world record by swimming between as many continents as possible. I am just blown away by what I just read there, Kelley. I mean, I'm so excited to kind of talk to you about all of that. But welcome to Sounds of Health.
Thank you, David. I'm so happy to be here. I'm honored that you want to hear my story.
Yeah, of course. I mean, so there seems like there's a lot for us to kind of dig into and talk about. I definitely want to hear about this world record that you're pursuing. But why don't you just tell our audience first, just kind of, your background, where you're from, and also what brought you to doing all these amazing things you're doing today?
Sure. So I'm from New Jersey. I grew up there. Then I moved to Rhode Island. I went to school here. I went to University of Rhode Island. And afterwards, I ended up starting a math tutoring business. So I taught linear algebra, calculus, and number theory for about 10 years. And then in 2017, I met this woman, Robin Squibb, who's the founder of the company, Granny Squibb's Organic Iced Tea. And we were neighbors in Providence. And, she started this company after a long career in the film industry. So she started this company in her late 70s, which is unbelievable. There's entrepreneurs and then there's entrepreneurs.
That's
that start
amazing.
CPG beverage companies in their
Right.
70s. So we became friends, and I used to help her bring cases in, and I learned about the business. And then in 2018, she expressed interest in retiring. Before that, she had gotten the iced tea into, markets and retail chains in Rhode Island. So she asked me if I wanted to partner with her. I said, absolutely. At the time, I didn't even know what a skew was, David. I didn't know
Well, who
what
does,
those.
unless you start getting into
I
business?
know. So she stayed on for a year to help mentor me and facilitate relationships. And then we went from there. And since then, we're now regionally distributed in the North Atlantic region, which is New England. We're in all the Whole Foods, Stop and Shop, Market Basket. We actually got into Shaw's yesterday. We're super excited. Big shout out to
Congratulations. That's great.
Tangy, one of my team members. And we'll be expanding into the Northeast region, which is New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, later in the summer, and then into the mid-Atlantic in the fall.
Wow, that's
So it's
fantastic.
fun. There's been some really, really big growth, and so we're very excited about it.
How big is the organization? How many employees do you have?
There's only four of us.
Wow.
It's super, super small. So it's pretty much everybody at the company is in sales, everybody, including myself.
Okay.
We all have our little niche area, one person does like, kind of driving down the street, goes to all the food co-ops, the pizza places, and that. Someone else focuses on huge retail specifically. I kind of do pie in the sky stuff, like reach out to the CEO of a big retail chain. Sometimes I get it, sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
Um, and then I do the like all the back admin and production and all that as well as sales.
Okay. That sounds like a big job.
Yeah. Yeah, but I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. We've tried to build not just a successful company as far as revenue goes, but we have a really big philanthropical as well. So another part of my background, by the way, while I was doing the math tutoring business, I also worked in social services. I worked for an organization called Amos House, based in Providence. And, for years, we all like volunteers, it was all well and good. I was doing volunteer coordinating, but I was like, what does this organization really need? What do nonprofits need? They need money.
Yeah, for
So at the
sure.
time, I was actually looking for a for-profit business to buy, to run, so that I could, funnel some of the revenue and profits into these nonprofits. So every new flavor that we come out with at Granny Squibbs, we match with a different New England state and then a nonprofit from that state.
That's
And
fantastic.
we donate a portion of the proceeds. So our cranberry is matched with Rhode Island, and we donate to Save the Bay to help clean our waterways. And then our peach is matched with Dana-Farber Cancer Institute and Massachusetts.
That's amazing. What a great idea that is.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm looking at the website now, so I'm just kind of seeing the story, and that's really great to have that philanthropic side to the business. When you were in school, I might have missed this, but what were you studying?
I studied math and psychology.
Okay, I didn't miss that. That's what I got.
So both of those focuses lend themselves to business, but they
Sure.
weren't business classes. And then I ended up getting my master's in business administration at Brown.
Okay, when you went to
But that
school,
was later. That was way later.
okay, and when you went to school, did you have something else in mind, or were you kind of did you always see yourself getting into business?
No, I just like math.
Yeah.
Uh, so I actually saw myself as a mathematician back then. And then I started filling in all of my electives with psychology classes because I just thought it was interesting. And so halfway through, my advisor was like, okay, like, you're on track for your math major, but what's happening over here? You're getting really close to a psych major as well. And I was like, let's do it
That's
for
awesome.
sure. Yeah.
Fantastic. And it's just, I always find it fascinating how things work out for people. We just had a couple of chairs fall next to me, just in case you
Oh,
heard that.
I didn't.
We're still trying to figure out this space. I find it fascinating how people kind of go to school to find their career, or maybe they already have an idea and then it shoots them off into something else. And it sounds like yours made a whole lot of sense. And then you kind of were able to mix it all together, which is really great.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting. I don't know if it's a generational thing. I'm a millennial, but like most people I know are working in careers that have nothing to do with their major in college.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's true.
to decide your major at 18, 19 is like in this world today in our culture is pretty extraordinary, the people that do stick to it. But I also find it fascinating when people are like, I'm going to be a lawyer in my 30s and I'm going to be a business person in my
Yeah.
50s. I'm going to ride equestrian in my 40s. I'm like, okay, you do you.
Right. And then you end up starting an iced tea company in your 70s. So you just
Yeah,
never
yeah,
know how it's going
exactly.
to go.
Right. Robin had the founder was in the film industry. She was a
Yeah.
script coordinator for years and then started a, CPG beverage. And I'm like, that's cool as hell.
Yeah. That's such a cool story. I love that. Now, where did you play ice hockey?
I played ice hockey in New Jersey all year round, did the Olympic training camps, all that, and then ended up playing in high school at Hotchkiss. And then I had a scholarship to UVM, but ended up my life kind of took a turn at that point, and I ended up moving out to California to do this math program, and so ended up taking a little bit of a hiatus. Kind of during my 20s. And then I started playing again in my late 20s, early 30s, just kind of in club teams and what
Yeah,
around.
sure.
And the thing is, my body, I still had the muscle memory from when I played when I was younger, but I had, lost density in my muscles and my bones. And, there was some injuries that weren't properly treated. So I started getting hurt playing. So in my early 30s, I was like, I need a new sport. I need to find something. And it ended up being swimming. And so it started as a hobby and now it's kind of taken on a life of its own.
That's really
Just like
amazing.
everything I
It sounds like it. So, did you end up
do.
playing hockey in college, or was that not something?
No, no, I didn't
Okay,
end up playing in college. But
gotcha. But you can't. You grew up playing, and you went through the
yeah.
youth. And okay, yeah, I have two boys that played hockey through youth hockey and into high school.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so
Nice. Where did they play?
it's a great sport. So where we brought them through the Hamden system here in Connecticut, and so they did the whole youth hockey program, and then the travel hockey, and it's a lot of
Nice.
fun.
Yeah, it's a ton of fun. There was one year I remember playing on four teams in eighth grade, and I had the worst like tendonitis,
I
osteoarthritis in my
bet.
knee.
Yeah.
Yeah, but a big problem, I think I played so much when I was younger and in high school that I ended up burning out. And I don't know about, your listeners, if anyone's experienced burnout, but it's an extraordinary phenomenon and it's real. It
Yeah.
is real. So, especially as, in my 30s, as I'm running this business and I'm working on these swims where there's extensive training involved,
Yeah.
trying to mitigate that burnout and that risk of burnout is very important.
Now, is that burnout specific to kind of the physical challenge of the sport, or does it also work on an emotional level, or is it all
Oh,
encompassing?
emotional.
Yeah.
I think it's mostly
Yeah.
emotional and
Okay.
mental.
That makes sense.
Um, you have to, you really have to have a balance in your life and in your mind to be able to train the way you need to train to do these things. And it's really important to keep your mind focused on the positives rather than the pain because anything good requires a lot of hard work and
Yeah. Very
sometimes
true.
a lot of times the hard work is really fun and exciting and it's
If you're
the
lucky,
type
yeah.
yeah, do you know the difference between type 1 and type 2 fun? Have you
No,
heard of
no,
that?
I haven't.
Okay, so type 1 fun, it's like things that are fun in the moment, like eating ice cream or going to the movies or dancing with your friends. And then type 2 fun, that's the stuff that isn't fun necessarily in the moment, but you look back on and it's really fun, like going for a hike or training for a marathon, where you're like, during it, you're like, I'm never gonna do this again. Why did I put
Right.
myself through this? And then afterwards, you're like, sign me up. So, I'm focused more on the type 2 fun and the
Yeah.
benefit of that. And I think that, as I've gotten older and wiser and gone through some pretty extraordinary burnout, being able to remember that, like, no, this is exciting. You're going to be proud of yourself. And that feeling is worth this, is something really important to remember.
I 100% agree. That's very true. And now, the swimming that you're doing, it's distance swimming, correct?
Some of it is. So, it's an interesting question. So this whole thing started like 5, 6 years ago, and I was swimming in Iceland in the Silver Fissure between the tectonic plates of North America and Europe. And that swim to touch both of the continents is very, very short. I could practically, it's like a wingspan
Really? That's awesome.
like 6 feet or something, so I just
Yeah.
touched the other and I got a super kick out of it. I was like, that's so fun. So I came home from that trip and I started mapping out swims all around the world. I was like, where else could humans swim between continents? So I ended up finding six swims, including Iceland. And so there's the Silfra Fissure in Iceland. Then there's Bosphorus Strait in Istanbul, which is Europe to Asia. Then there's Gibraltar, which is Europe to Africa. That's 10 miles. Then there's Bering Strait, which is Russia to Alaska, Asia to North America. That's 2 miles. Then there's Panama Canal, North America to South America, which is in places, it can range from 400 meters to 2 miles.
Yeah.
Then there's Suez, which is Africa to Asia, and that same thing as Panama. Some places are 600 meters, some places are, a kilometer and a half.
Right.
And the longest one, which I found later after I started doing these. So it's seven total. I found six at the time, but since I found a seventh, and it's Indonesia to Australia, and that's 14 miles.
Oh, wow. So that's the longest one.
That's the longest one and the most dangerous one.
And how many have you
Each,
completed so far?
I've completed two so far. I've attempted four.
Okay.
Uh, but they're really complicated because these are major shipping channels, most of them.
Yeah.
So it's more of a logistics goal than a swim goal, some of these.
Yeah, I'm
And
sure.
the longer the swims, like Gibraltar, the 10-mile one, all I had to do was sign up. It's a long waiting list, but I'll be doing that one in August. But then like Suez and Panama that are about 400 meters are like almost impossible to coordinate because of like geopolitics in the area and the shipping schedule. And so after I mapped all these out and decided I wanted to do them, like actually swim them, I started, trying to plan them out, trying to get permits, and I was having a lot of trouble. It's Kelley McShane from Rhode Island. I'm nobody,
Yeah.
calling
Sure.
Cinema Canal Zone Authority, and they're like, "Who are you?" and would just hang up. So I started reaching out to all these swimmers around the world just through social media, being like, "Hey, do you know anyone that's ever done the Suez? Do you know anyone that's ever done Panama?" And this is over like 2 years, and I'm reaching out to one, two, three swimmers a day. So these were hundreds of swimmers that I ended up reaching out to, and no one really had
Where are you
information.
finding these people?
Just on social media or Googling them and finding emails and
So cool.
so I'd search like a hashtag like swimmers in South Africa,
That's
and
great.
so a lot of people, I was getting feedback that no one had done this. So I reached out to Guinness World Records and I was like, "Hey, and at the time it was just the six swims. And I was like, "Hey, I really want to do this. Is this a new thing?" And they were like, "It is a new thing." So I ended up getting this new title approved for most intercontinental swims. And what that did was it gave me more power so that when I call these
Interesting.
organizations and these, the Suez Canal Zone Authority, I can be like, "Listen, this is a real thing. I have an organization behind me.
Right.
It's a global organization." So, and then during the application process, I ended up finding that seventh swim, but
That is
so
amazing. And this is just all because you're interested in doing it. What I mean, what is driving this for you?
yeah, well, so it started because it's just really fun.
Yeah.
And so it started as just this, hobby that got out of hand. And then over the years, I've been, so I was attempting Suez in October. So I went to Cairo and I had one permit, but I ended up getting there and realizing I needed five permits to do it. So I spent the first couple days in Cairo just knocking on doors, the Egyptian Swim Federation, the US Embassy, like anyone I could think of. Ended up getting all five, but it took 2 months to process some of
Wow.
them. So I actually
Okay.
do have permits now, but I haven't gone back to swim them. But the point of telling you that is because when I was there, I met this famous swimmer. Her name is Rhonda El Mahdi, and her and I had dinner and we started talking about these swims and I invited her to do some of them with me. And we talked about making it a bigger mission and making it more important than just me doing this for fun. And I was like, "Absolutely, I love that idea. What can we do?" So we started talking about just, the culture of the United States versus the culture in Egypt. And specifically, we were talking about women's rights and how women are treated. And so we were going to be doing these swims to raise awareness for women's rights around the world. But then, like 2 months later, we got on the phone with this woman from Europe. She's German, but she lives in Switzerland, and she just got her doctorate in geopolitics. We're talking to her, and she's like, look, this can be even bigger. So there's a lot of what we feel is forced upon division in global administrations at this point. So we had the idea to get one swimmer from each continent. So it'll be, Rhonda from Africa and Katrine from Europe, me from North America. We have a swimmer that's committed from South America. We're talking to someone from Australia and Asia right now.
Wow.
And we're talking about having one woman from each continent except Antarctica present at each of these swims to promote global cohesion, camaraderie, and collaboration. Waterways connect the world, and with this forced upon division that we feel, it's like, listen, this is your fight, this is not ours. We're in it together. So as we do these swims, we're going to be highlighting different crises in the area, be it humanitarian or environmental. So it's
That's
turned into
amazing.
a big thing.
Yeah.
And it's still all in the works. I'm not a storyteller, so we're still trying to
Are you
figure it
sure about
out.
that? You've been telling a story for the past half hour.
I know,
Just through this podcast, you're
I
telling
know,
your story. Yeah.
you're getting me excited.
No, I mean, I think that's amazing. I love hearing how it went from just this idea of this interest of something you wanted to do. And I mean, wow, it just snowballs, right? Like people hear about it, they want to get involved, they want to make it bigger, they want to connect it to something larger than yourselves. And I think that's really just an amazing thing. Just the idea of using it to connect people is just a beautiful thing.
Thank you, David. And like it just shows like literally it's just me in a cabin in the woods in Rhode Island
Right.
in my mid 30s being like I need a new sport. And there's have you ever read the book Atomic Habits
Yes,
by
I
James
have.
Clear? All right, I love that book. I
Yeah.
live by that book, and this is, I think, like the perfect example of that. Just doing one little thing every single day, spending 10 minutes thinking about it. And, I've been doing this for 5, 6 years, and now it's on a global scale. I'm coordinating with women around the world. I'm getting permits in, Africa and South America. And
Right.
so it just shows that if you it doesn't take all day every day. No one can maintain something all day every day. No one can do that.
Yeah.
Um, so just a couple minutes, if you're really excited, an hour every day, and you can accomplish pretty extraordinary things.
I have so many questions. I'm a little bit overwhelmed by how many ways I would like to kind of take the conversation. Because every time you say something else, I'm like, wait, I want to ask about that. Um, because I think that's a really good point, right? You can structure your day to do more and to do the things that set your fire and really get you excited. And you have a full-time job, obviously, or this really amazing career. You're doing this as well. So I think that's a really amazing thing.
Thank, thank you.
Also, so I think the first thing I want to ask about is just the logistics of it. So
Okay.
all of these areas where you want to swim in, the conditions and the challenge is different, right? Every place is going to have its own challenges and conditions. Do you have to have some type of a support team with you? Is there a boat? Is there, are you coordinating all of those things as well?
Yes, yeah. So I have a team right now that's helping me in Panama, in Egypt, Gibraltar. The Bosphorus I already completed and had a team there, and then Sulfur Fissure, that was the first one, easy one. I didn't need a team.
Right.
But for like Bering Strait, for example, really, really rough waters, really cold. There's only 2 weeks a year I can do this. And so for that one, I'll have to swallow a thermometer while I do it. And then my coach, David Martin, will have to be on the boat monitoring my internal temperature the
Wow.
entire time.
I mean, that's unbelievable.
Yeah. And then like Panama, actually, so I was down there 2 weeks ago, and I had I had a boat, I had a tracker, I had a videographer, I had a safety team, because the canal is crocodile infested and they have caimans too. So I went down there and I couldn't get permits, but my team down there, there was 8 people helping me with this. They were like, listen, we're really familiar with the canal. So we know this area that's really quiet. We have the access to the shipping channel. It's 400 meters. You can do it in 5 minutes. So we'll just go 5 a.m. You'll swim across. I was like, incredible. But then, so everything's scheduled, deposits are down on the boat, everything. And I was leaving on a Friday. On Wednesday, Donald Trump called for a complete military survey of the canal. So on Friday, I'm flying out to Panama, and my whole team's calling me, and they're like, Kelley, we can't do it. There's US soldiers,
Oh,
German
wow.
soldiers everywhere. There's drones. There's 100% chance we're going to get caught. We're going to get our boating license taken away. We're all going to get fined. You'll probably go to jail. And I was like, all right. So I flew out there. We all sat around a table in Azuero Peninsula, like over on the Pacific side. And we were like, how are we going to do this? And so we pulled our connections together and we're working towards permits to do it legally, which is the smart way
For sure.
anyway.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Yeah.
I hope, you don't judge me too much for wanting to do it
Oh, not at
without a
all. Oh,
permit.
absolutely. I think that's
So
incredible.
yes, but there's comprehensive logistics that go into each of these swims.
So has this endeavor become your off time from work? Are these your vacations? Like, how are you
Yeah.
fitting that? Oh, they are. So you're fitting that
Yeah.
in. Okay. And then
I mean, if they even are vacations, I mean, you can do everything remotely now.
sure. Yeah.
So, I'm still placing POs between, coordinating these swims.
Yeah. I mean, I guess every business owner understands that, right? You're never truly on vacation. You're always connected in some
Right,
way. Yeah,
right.
that makes sense. So, are you? How do you fund everything? I mean, you're getting all these people involved. Are they doing it out of the kindness of their heart or their interest, or does it take money to actually get this done too?
I mean, it takes money. I'm flying myself out to all of these places at this point. But most people that are helping me, and this is like the most extraordinary feeling I've ever had, are doing it because they believe in the mission and the passion, and they're like, swim across the Panama Canal with no permits and fight crocodiles. Like, yeah, man. And I'm like, you just find this niche of people that
Yeah.
want to do these really adventurous things. And there's actually so it's kind of a funny story. I hope I'm not taking up too much time,
No,
but
please.
um so then when I was there's one swim, so the most dangerous swim, and I haven't even begun coordinating this. I don't know how the hell we're gonna pull it off, but it's Indonesia to Australia. And it's 14 miles and it has all of the scary things. It has super crazy currents. It's really warm water, which is gonna like really affect our skin when you're in the water for that long. It has saltwater crocodiles on both shores. It's shark infested and has box jellyfish.
Wow.
So I'm talking to this German woman and I'm telling her about this whole idea and what we want to do. And she's silent the whole time. And I'm like, I'm talking about details of all these swims and all this stuff and kind of a timeline. And at the end, I was talking about this Indonesia swim. And I'm like, just said all those dangerous things. And she's silent on the phone for like 5 seconds. And I'm like, so what do you think? And she was like, she's like, well, Kelley, there's also bomb fishing, so we're gonna have to be careful when we do it. To like, and I was like, that's so cool that your answer is like, we're definitely doing it, but
There's
we got
one
this
more
other
scary thing you haven't thought of.
right.
Right. We're doing
So
it, but there's one more.
we're doing it.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
So
That's
it's just people
unbelievable.
like that you meet, and because of all the outreach I've done over the years, just random messaging people, you kind of find your cluster.
Yeah, that's really awesome. Now, are all of the women that are going to be involved, are you all going to do each one of the swims? How are you planning that part of it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So now
Yep.
it's not just going to
So
be you, it's going to be all of you.
right. So I do have 2 swims on of them, but
Yeah.
the record I don't really care about. It would be a great honor, of course, but I really applied for the record just to have some weight behind this when I make some calls.
Yeah.
What
Okay.
I really care more about is this mission, and when you're swimming between essentially icebergs and from Russia to Alaska, like sometimes that gets you like 10 extra seconds of attention. Someone's like, wait, what are you doing?
Right.
And then you can talk about the things that are really important, like collaborating as a people and supporting humanity. So yes, we don't have everything planned out yet, but the idea is that each of us, like all six of us, swim together between each of these, and we use this platform as a group to highlight, different needs in the areas on each of our continents.
I love it. It might actually be nice to end with that first swim you did because it sounds like that may have been the easiest
Yeah,
one, right? That could be a
right,
celebration.
right. Yeah, and you're invited to the party
Oh,
after.
please, I would love
Excellent.
to. That sounds incredible. I love it. Now, so for doing all of this, how do you stay ready? You mentioned you have a coach. So are you training every day? What is your training like?
I do. I train every day. I swim 3, 4 times a week. So I'll do, and then I have other, cross training activities that I do. So every day there's something, but I know myself really well, and if I swim every day, I'll burn out.
Yeah.
So what I do is I'll swim in a pool. Um, maybe 2 times a week, and I'll do like 5 miles, 6 miles. And then the other 2 times I swim during the week, it'll be open water. So that's, along the beach. I'm often in Jamestown doing that, or Narragansett, or Westerly. And
Even
then my
in the
cross
winter
training,
and
I
the
like to
cold
do a lot of
weather?
body. Yeah,
Yeah, all through the
yeah.
winter.
I also live on the Pawcatuck River, so I'm really
Okay.
lucky to live on the river, so I'll swim here too. But yeah, so cold water training is a big part of this
Yeah.
because it's so hard to coordinate logistically. I don't know if I'm going to get a call from, Alaska tomorrow and I'm going to fly out, or Suez, where it's warmer. So I have to be kind of ready for everything.
Yeah.
So and then I do boxing and Pilates or bar or tennis, or just kind of fun stuff
That's awesome.
otherwise.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you never know when the opportunity is going to be for one of these. So it's not a matter of getting ready, it's a matter of staying ready.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it.
Do you have a timeline? Like, do you hope to have it accomplished by a certain date, or is it just as you go? You're not putting a pressure of a timeline on yourself.
It's been as I go. And in the beginning it was like, okay, maybe I can make this happen in like 8 years. It's getting steam, so I think I can do it way quicker. If I was on my own, I could maybe now at this point, I believe in like 3 years. But with a team, with these other women, I think we could do it way faster. And what I would love to see, my ideal situation is all of us getting together, getting sponsors, and
Yeah.
doing it all 7 of these swims in like a 2 month period in 2026.
Wow.
So if you or any listeners know anyone that might be interested in something like this, please reach out. Please.
Yeah. So where can they find you? How do people track you down?
Well, you can email me at Kelley, Kelley, at Granny Squibb, GrannySquibb.com. Or you can just call me 562-774-7929. Anyone call me, text me. I'm available anytime to answer questions, or, you know, talk to anyone. I think that's the beauty in life. And that's where
Yeah.
opportunities come from. You never know who's going to call. And so I always pick up that phone.
That's awesome. Well, we definitely want to be a part of following you on this journey and promoting it as much as we can because it
Thank
sounds like such an amazing thing. I
thank
do
you.
want to talk a little bit more about Granny Squibb as well. So I know I think you and Jason had met at the opening of the Champ Center here in Connecticut, and he brought me one of the iced teas from that event, so I got to taste it. Where are you guys? Where is it available? Can we buy it in stores here in Connecticut, or where do we find the iced tea?
Yeah, it's available in all the Whole Foods in Connecticut right now. We're really expanding our reach in Connecticut. It's mostly Rhode Island and North. We've been focused there. Just we want to make sure that we have sustainable growth. So we're waiting till we're at a certain volume until we really push our expansion. You can get it through our website for sure. And And yeah, coming, we have a couple big launches. Oh, you can also in Connecticut get it at Big Y.
Oh,
We'll
great.
be launching Wegmans and Costco and Shaw's in the next month. So you can get it there as well.
All right. So pretty soon people here in Connecticut are going to see it everywhere.
Hopefully. I mean, that's the plan.
That's great. And it is nice that a portion of the proceeds go back to these charities that you're working with, correct?
Yep, yep. And so we actually have a raspberry flavor coming out soon, later in the summer, and that's going to be matched with Connecticut and a nonprofit from Connecticut. So what happens is when we match with a nonprofit from a state, so this is our way of showing the communities we're served in that we support the causes that you care
I
about.
love it.
So what I do is I send out a survey to 10,000 residents of Connecticut. We also have one coming out. We just sent out a survey to Maine residents. We have a Blueberry as well. And the survey is essentially like, what do you care about? Is it foster care? Is it forestry? Is it ocean cleanup? And then I get that feedback, and then I research nonprofits in the state and talk to them and, find one that would like to partner with us. And then we go from there and we'll pledge a portion of the proceeds for the eternity of the flavor.
That's really amazing. I love that. I worked in nonprofits for about 10 years before I got into insurance, and I sit on a few boards as well with some nonprofits. So if you need any suggestions, I'm happy to send you some.
I do. I would love them.
Okay,
Thank you.
perfect. Well, I mean, it sounds like all of the work that you're doing is absolutely incredible, and we will definitely send people your way so that we can support your efforts. I think it's really amazing. The last thing before we kind of wrap up, I think I mentioned this to you at the start. Every episode, as we're wrapping up, we ask our guests to leave our audience with one health hack. So this is something that you do in your daily life. I can already tell there's a lot of them for you, but something that maybe our audience would benefit from that you do daily to help you to improve your physical, emotional, or financial well-being. Is there anything you can think of?
Sure. Well, kind of to stay on the theme, I guess, of this podcast, it would be to, monitor and mitigate your burnout, and that can be physically, emotionally, it can be in relationships, it can be financially. And I think, two ways to do that. One is to, really plan out your days before, like in the evening beforehand, be like, okay, this particular thing, my body's hurting a little bit today. Maybe I'm not going to do a 2-hour workout. Maybe I'm just going to do a 10-minute workout today. Financially, if you're constantly keeping up with bills and, kind of struggling, then just take a moment to plan and understand that it's not the end of the world. You cannot fail in your day. It's your life. If you're not, uh, comfortable and confident, and if you're in that like super stress, then there's something wrong and you just need to take a step back. Chances are you're not getting chased by a bear,
Right.
and you
Yeah.
can take just an hour to just, think a little bit and write things down. I think that's my best advice.
I
That's what
love
changed
that.
my
Yeah.
life.
It's so important for people because I think most of us in our daily lives are in that high anxiety, fight or flight, even though there's nothing really that's going to threaten us in that way. I think we always live in this heightened state of just kind of
Right.
pressure and anxiety. And it's important. We had my friend Sarah Caliendo on a few weeks ago, and she's like a burnout expert as well. She talks a lot about what those strategies are. She works with kind of executive high performers. But that's something that's so important for everybody in their daily life because you can feel it, especially when there's something that you love to do and you're doing it so much and you start to disconnect and pull back from it. It's a point where you can realize maybe just spend some time being mindful of it and see what's really going on here.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, so I think that's a great tip. Thank you for that one. I think our audience will benefit from that. So thank you so much. And
Thank you.
this has been just an awesome conversation. I don't want to take up too much of your time today. Yeah, but we would love to have you back, especially as you're continuing to pursue this goal of yours. We'd love to hear some updates and help to promote it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I would love to be on anytime.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Kelley, so much for being on Sounds of Health. And thank you all for listening. We appreciate our listeners every week. And that's another wrap on another episode of Sounds of Health. Sounds of Health is brought to you by Nutmeg Insurance Advisors and recorded at the offices of Nutmeg Advisory Group. I'm your host, Dave MacNiven, and the podcast is produced by Jason Carubia with music by Rob Ames. Every week, we bring you tips to inspire and empower you to upgrade your health and your life. And if you enjoy the show, we hope that you'll like, share, subscribe, and leave us a review. We love hearing from our listeners, and we hope that you can help us to get the word out about what we're doing here and continuing to be an important part of our wellness community. Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you next time.